Ready? Are you ready?
Oh,
Here goes. I paid my due. Come on. I paid my way. Oh, my battery died. No. There it is. We have to fast forward it. Hold on. Keep on fighting till the end. Woo! We are the champions. We are the champions. Well, that failed epically. Oh, it's not ready for you. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Well, I'll tell you a secret, which it's not really a secret. I've been telling everyone for the last a week or so. I really want to make this Oreo cheesecake.
An Oreo cheesecake.
Yes, and I tried cream egg first, and it went kind of so I thought I'll try Oreo. So I did everything. I set it up. The crust was amazing, awesome. I started mixing everything in, and I tasted it, and I went, it tastes really salty. I put in a cup and a half of salt instead of sugar.
Oh my God, gross.
Yeah, it was a very different kind of cake. So Aliash saved the day though, and he went running to the shop and bought sugar, and I had to redo it quickly, all before our live today. So it's in the oven now, and I'm like crossing all my fingers. It turned out okay. Have you been cooking, or it's like, do you guys cook often, or who does?
Janette, I don't cook.
You don't cook.
I have no idea what I'm doing.
Is Stacey a good cook? Does she like it?
Stacey can cook. She's not particularly like into it. Like she's not like a passion.
Yeah.
But she can cook. Yeah. Like thank God for Stacey at the moment, because I don't know what the hell I'd be doing.
But you know what I found weird? That you could still get like delivery or pizzas, or like, you could still get food delivered even during coronavirus.
Yeah.
Situation.
Yeah. It's very much an essential thing right now.
Yeah, but
I'd
I
be
love
spending
it.
loads of money if Stacey wasn't. If I wanted to stay. I'll set this up so I can.
There you go. Kevin, so I was just saying before you came on that I don't know anything about you.
Sure.
I had to research everything and find out all about your life and your career, because this is important for me to get to finally sit down and talk with you.
How long have we known each other now?
Well, we met in 2009.
Yeah.
So it's coming to almost 11 years, really.
Wow.
Isn't that insane?
Yeah, yeah. And we've pretty much been working together since then.
Ever since then. This is going to be the weirdest Strictly ever without you with us. But I feel like in a weird way you're still going to be there. I know you'll be watching.
I'll definitely be watching.
Yeah, and Stacey's going to be right there with you. Like,
yeah. I'm kind of looking forward to watching it, actually. Just like as a fan.
You said that. I think I saw one of your lives. You were talking about how you were excited to sit down and watch it and like be a fan of the show.
I've been so engrossed in it since 2013 that I haven't been able to just sort of sit and experience it from the outside, and I'm really sort of looking forward to that. And you know what I'm like? It gets to about week 10 or 11, and it's like, why are there 1,412 stones on this shirt? There should have been 1,413. Like, and everything's a big disaster.
I'll never forget. I don't know if you remember. I think it was when you were dancing with Stacey and we were in Blackpool, and the judges were pretty harsh on her that night. And you were so passionately upset about it.
Do you know what it was? I remember with that, they weren't even that harsh on her, but it was, we'd come off, and I think I got on that night in Blackpool, I got so wrapped up in, like, the crowd went really loud at the end of the dance.
Yeah,
and we'd opened the show, and I thought,
I think
wow,
it's one
that
of
was
my
amazing.
favorites.
And I felt really good about it. And then it went like, I don't know, I think we'd got like all 8s the week before or something. And then we started off this one with like a 7 from Craig. And I immediately went, but then I thought, I looked at it and went, oh, but still, it's not bad. It was like 7, 8, 9, 9 or something. And I was really sort of, I was really like, I was hoping for better than that, but it's still not too bad. And then for the rest of the night, it was like 10 City with everyone. It's like everyone came out. 10. Yeah, but they fell over. Yeah, but 10. They were at 10. 10. And
But
I got
I
so mad
remember.
by the end of it. I was like, why is absolutely everyone getting 10s apart from us?
But me and you danced together in that group number. It was the Giovanni and Luba and Graziano one. Remember
Oh
when they
yeah.
like did the Italians,
Mm,
Italian like nightclub feel thing? And me and you, whenever it's Lindy Hopper jive, we always get partners together.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was like a Lindy Hoppy jive routine. And I was like, woo, wearing, excited. And you came up to me and we're trying to act out this happy middle of the night nightclub in Italy. And we're driving and Lindy hopping. And right before you dance, you're like, Janette, can you believe that? Can you believe it?
That's what
And
I
I was
mean.
like, Kevin, the camera's going to be on us in 2 seconds. Yeah, but can you believe it?
I know. Yeah. There's always. I had a running joke with the producers, like, you know, like Sarah or Louise Rainbow and all them. Like, there was this running joke that like there was always one point in the series where when I completely like self-destructed and blew up, and it was, and on that night I remember like talking to them and they said, "Do you think maybe you're just having your once every series moment?" And you know, you're in that moment. I'm like, no.
No, I'm fine.
And then
fine.
the next week back in Elstree, I was like, I think I was just having my once in a series moment. And then, yeah.
But that's good. Yeah, but I know it sounds that you're very, very, very passionate about what you do. I feel like I don't think anyone has thrown their heart and soul more into Strictly than you ever have. And it all comes from the right place. You just want to smash it with your partner. And like, if you didn't care, you wouldn't have that kind of like vivacious once a year.
I remember one of the 2014 one when I was dancing with Frankie was when we had the surfboards, and on the practice day, like on the Friday, the first time we practiced, we get lowered on these surfboards and then had to unclip and get out of them, and the clips weren't working, the surfboards couldn't get steady enough for us to dance on them, and after about the 4th time where it went wrong, this was just like in the rehearsal, I just ripped my clip off, picked up the surfboard and hurled it across the room, and Ali Ash was in the star bar, and he told me, he was like going, everyone was looking at the screen and he was like, everyone quick, Kev's kicking off, Ali Ash is like selling tickets for me having
like,
my freak
look at
out
this, guys. I remember, and you've had some funny, I mean, I want to get to Strictly later, but while we're on it, I remember year one with Suzanne Reed, you had the Michael Jackson MJ moment.
It's still, I can't watch it. Funny, I was just going over that series on my podcast. Just talking about, you know, dance by dance, going through it, and it got to that, and I still felt like the anger as I was talking about it, because
the anger, it was your face when you were going.
And even if you watch it on YouTube now, you can see the moment when I'm looking down and trying to get my foot clipped into this thing, and it just would not go in. And I remember coming off from the number, and after you got your judges' comments, up to Claudia's area, and you know, get your scores, blah 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 blah. Touch Claudia, and then go down afterwards to outside the glitter wall. And I remember going downstairs and just putting my fist into the wall, like ah.
And that was day one.
Yeah. And then like past James Jordan in the corridor going, how'd that go, Kev? Shut up.
But you know what's awesome is kind of like looking at those moments now and laughing about it, you know? In the moment, it's like the universe. But then in hindsight, you go, you know, it was one dance out of 7 years of magical life. Yeah. Kevin, so your mom and your dad, Keith and Judy, they were world champions?
Well, yeah, they were world number one. They in the actual world championship, the year that they were hoping to win, they finished second, but they won everything else for the rest of the year.
Wow.
So it's like they were world number one and sort of won everything, but in that one competition, they finished second. So I always just call them world champions, but they're like, you know, they won everything.
But they're champions. They're champions regardless.
Yeah,
and when you started dancing, did they already have their school?
Yeah. So they moved up to Grimsby. That's where my mum's from. My dad's a Londoner, but my mum moved up to Grimsby because that's where her parents are from. And they set up the dance school there. And from I think about 4 years old, So I'm told. It was just me and Joe. So Joe would have been like 3 and I was 4.
Oh my God.
And
I've
we were
seen
just
photos. Because Joanne posts photos of you guys as kids all the time when you were
Yeah.
together.
Yeah. So we were just like at the back of the room, and like mum and dad would be teaching these classes, just teaching people, and because we were bored or like we'd finished our colouring book or whatever, we'd just get up and start trying to copy what was going on.
Oh.
So I'm told. And then apparently we just joined like the kids class at mum and dad's school.
I was good. Was your parents your teachers, or did you have other teachers?
I mean, it started off just with mum and dad teaching us. Then I think the more serious we got about competitions, and also the older I got, like the more lippy I got to my dad. Like when my dad was teaching me,
Yeah.
my dad would be like, "You put your arm there," and I'd be like, "No, I didn't." You know, like because you can say that to your mum and dad.
It's tough though, because it's your father, so the lines are
yeah.
So
in the end, he said, "Right, I'm not having this anymore. He's not going to listen to me. I'm going to send him to." You know, we started having lessons with a couple of different teachers, and Shirley Ballas being one of them. So yeah, we became very much like Shirley for a long time was our main teacher.
When did you stop competing with Joanne? How old were you?
About 15-ish. I think
you spent quite a few years dancing with her then.
Yeah. I think our first competition, I was probably about 6, and then about 15, it just got to the point where it was like, I'm 15, you're 14. This just feels weird now.
Like Roomba.
Yeah, I don't want to do a rumba with you. It feels very strange. Like, yeah.
So you swapped partners, and then is that when Joanne went more into ballroom and you went more into Latin?
Yeah, immediately.
Okay.
Yeah, we didn't really want to compete against each other. Joe especially. I think it was very much Joe was saying, I don't really want us to compete against each other, and Joe didn't really mind. It's funny with me and my sister because when we were kids, like I was fiercely competitive and fiercely sort of like nothing will stand in my way. Joe just couldn't care less. She was like, it didn't matter if we came 1st or 6th at a competition or didn't get out the first round. It was like Joe was very chilled, and now my sister's fiercely competitive. And I feel like the older I get, the more I'm letting go of all that. Apart from
you're swapping over, aren't you?
Yeah, but like for me, I was like, well, I'm gonna compete in Latin. I was always gonna be like a Latin dancer, and Joe didn't really mind. So Joe just went, all right, I'm gonna be a ballroom dancer then, just because you've chosen Latin. And then she went on to become world ballroom champion.
And then she was the one that, but you won, because I wrote it down. Hold on a second. You won quite a few things. So you won youth champion, because that was with Joanne. Was that with Joe?
No, that was with Anna Melnikova.
Ah, okay. So that wasn't with Joanne. So you at that point when you started winning titles, it wasn't with your sister anymore.
Well, we won like juveniles and juniors.
I see. Yeah.
Because
I saw you won youth, and then you won 4-time British champion.
Yeah.
And then you won. Let me list them because I went online and I found them all. You won international open titles in Italy, Germany, Spain, Portugal, Sweden, Japan, France, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Singapore, Slovenia, Finland, and Belgium. What?
Yeah.
Just
stop.
A few.
Stop.
Just a few, Kevin. Just a few in there. I was like, geez, because I know a lot about you, but I didn't know like those details of just how much you won over the years that you were competing. I mean, that's pretty awesome, isn't it? Did you feel like you had a good run when you were competing?
Yeah, and it was like for me, for the most time, there was no question for me. Like I was gonna go on and become world champion. Like that was my aim, and that was my career path. And it was always going to be about competitions, become world champion, you know, be professional world champion, then retire and teach other competitors and live that life.
Yeah, that kind of journey.
Be Shirley Ballas, you know. That's the career that I just never for one second thought it would go any other way. And then as I got into my 20s doing it, I became a lot more aware of like the politics involved in the competition scene. And then also like, I really sort of fell out of love with dancing in the competition scene. I wasn't enjoying my dancing anymore.
Do you think it was because of because now that I feel like I know you pretty well, do you think it's because of that repetitiveness of it, and that like constantly never being good enough because there's always going to be somebody better? It's like never achieving that ultimate ultimate peak.
Maybe, yeah, maybe they're repetitive. Yeah, I've never thought of it like that, but you could be right. But also, for me, it became a list of boxes to tick.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, if you want to win this competition, you have to dance like this. You have to make sure you do that. And also, there's an element of you've got to make sure that you're sort of in with those judges.
Yeah, I know. A
And
lot of people say that about the competitive world. I feel like there's a part of me that wishes I competed for obvious reasons, just for technique and quality of movement and things like that. But then in a lot of ways, I'm kind of happy I never delved into that world, because for me, it was always about the dancing and the show and the story.
Yeah. Well, that's what it is for me. And I got to a point in competitions where I hated my own dancing. I didn't really rate myself as a dancer anymore. I was very bored with my own dancing. And I didn't enjoy going to competitions anymore. I didn't really enjoy the practicing. And I was just like, I don't think I want to be a dancer. And it was like this moment where it suddenly clicked and went, Jesus, I've been a dancer my whole life, purely because that's what my family does. Like, my mum and dad were dancers, my sisters were dancers, my aunties are dancers, my grandparents were dancers. It's just like the whole family are dancers. So it's just like I followed this route without thinking about it. It's just been always my path. And now I'm like, I started to question, do I actually want to do this? Or is it just because of my family? And a few things happened within the competition world that really got me angry. And then I just went, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore.
It's the unfairness of it. The unfairness of it all.
Yeah. At one point, I was offered a world championship for a price.
That's awful. Really?
Yeah. And it was basically like, if you follow this path under this person's wing, then they're gonna sort of, you'll have to pay them a bit of money, and then you have to have lessons with those people. And I know that person, I know they're shit teachers, but you'll have the lessons with them anyway. And then you'll go to that competition and you'll get a bad result there. You'll get beaten by people that you don't normally get beaten by. But if you do that, then the organizer of the competition is really powerful when it comes to the German Open. And so they'll make sure that you get a good result at the German Open, which is just before the Worlds, and then blah, 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 blah. So yeah, I just got to a point where
it just the whole thing feels so, I don't want to say the word political, because I don't want to make politics sound like it's a bad thing, but it is very much like blackmailing almost a little bit. If you don't do this for me, I'm not going to do this for you. If you don't pay for lessons with me, I'm not going to give you that score the next time that you come out and compete. It's really, really, are you there? Yeah. Yeah, it all seems really unfair.
Yeah.
That's the only word I can think of. It's really unfair. Can you hear me?
Hang on, it's gone all out of sync. Yeah, I can hear you, but wait, say something again.
Hi.
There you are. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, and I got to this point with it where I just decided I didn't want to do it anymore. I'd had enough of unfairness. I'd had enough of I'd had enough of my own dancing, and then so I decided I didn't want to dance anymore. So I gave up, and like my parents were like,
"Is this when you slept in the car? What was that?"
Oh, that was while I was competing.
Oh, because you didn't have the
and that was all part of it, because you never had any money. Like the lessons were very expensive, and I kept trying to hold down sort of a 9-to-5 office job, but it never worked out because of the amount of time I needed off to go around the world competing, blah, 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 blah. And a lot of the time, so I'd moved down to London and I was living with my nan in Hemel Hempstead, but I'd take lessons in South London. And a lot of the time I'd be looking in my wallet and thinking, right, I've got this lesson today, I've got another lesson tomorrow. If I use this money to pay for that lesson, this money to pay for that lesson, and we can go to the practice session at night, and that's this amount. And I'll need to eat at some point. Basically, it's, have I got enough money for petrol back to my nan's to sleep there? So it would be like a choice between, no, I actually haven't. So I'd have to stay down in South London, but I couldn't afford to stay somewhere. So if there was no one around, like, say, a mate whose couch I could sleep on, I'd often just sleep in the car.
That's insane. I mean, that's That's the story of someone that's really determined and really hardworking, really.
But that's the thing. It was like so on this path and so much sacrifice to then go, am
To
I
then be
actually
handed
enjoying
it,
this?
to have it handed to you in that way. Well, you have to
Mm.
do all this. It's got nothing to do with your capabilities or all the hard work you're putting in.
Yeah.
It has to do with everything else.
Yeah, so I started questioning everything and questioning why I was putting myself in that position and sacrificing everything so much.
Yeah.
So I just gave up, and sort of my coaches and my teachers were like, "What are you doing?"
And what about your parents? What was their reaction like?
They were
Because they're
panicking a bit.
obviously,
They were panicking. They were
yeah,
like, "I don't know, like what are you gonna do? Like you've always danced. That's always been your path. Like what are you gonna do?" And I was like, "I don't know, but I need to find something else." And people were saying, you're just in a bit of a rut. You need to get re-inspired. You need to go and watch things, and you need to see things. So I set about, like, people were taking me to see things. Now come and watch this thing at Sadler's Wells, or come and watch this ballet, or come and just come and watch things. And
so you started going. Is that when you kind of started visiting theater shows and going to the theater to get that re-inspired?
yeah, I mean, I've always been into musical theatre. I've always been into theatre, but I went through a period of like just watching a lot of dance to try and get re-inspired for dancing. And I wasn't getting into any of it. I was like, do you know what, guys? I don't care about dancing anymore. And then two things happened around a similar time. So I went on my own, bought a ticket right up at the back, like in the gods, and watched Matthew Bourne's Edward Scissorhands.
I,
And
every time I see that, I can't not think of you.
yeah, and I thought, wow, I've never seen anything like this, because it almost wasn't overly concerned with showing me dance. It was like, it was based in dance, but it was a narrative piece, and it was like watching a play.
And quite visual as well. It was
Mm.
so visually exciting, Edward Scissorhands, with all the set changes and the costumes and everything. It just looked visually beautiful.
Yeah. So I was so like, and I sat there and cried, and I was like, it's not that I don't want to dance anymore. It's just that I want to tell stories, and I want to feel something. I don't want to tick a load of boxes just so I can pick up a trophy. And
Did you kind of feel like, I feel like that's a musical theater moment, like that, when the lead guy finally starts singing his song because he's found his calling.
Yeah. This is my life. Yeah, it felt like that. And I suddenly got like, and I'm like, once I'm sort of inspired by something, or once I'm set my mind on something, I'm like, right, how do we go about
What do I do?
Yeah. And at a similar time, Jason Gilkison was asking me about coming in to Burn the Floor.
How did you, because that was going to be my next kind of topic, Burn the Floor, but how did you meet Jason? Because I don't know that story. How did Jason come into the picture, into your life during this Edward Scissorhand period and all of that?
Well, I've known Jason a long time, as not known him, but watched him dance, and I watched him compete, like when I was a kid. Yeah. As a kid, I'd watch him at Blackpool and be sort of, watching all the top dancers and be a bit inspired by him.
Yeah.
And
because he was quite revolutionary, if I'm honest.
Yeah. And then he would be judging competitions, him and Peter Roby, like they'd be judging competitions sometimes. And then I was sort of aware of Burn the Floor when it first came about, the original Burn the Floor.
Yeah.
That it was this huge deal. And I had the VHS video at home and used to watch that and think...
Is that the one? Because that's the one that I've watched a million times. The one where she's in the horns.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're all in white at the end. It's like, I've watched that video 1,000 times too.
Because it was such a revelation, because it was like, no one had ever seen ballroom or Latin dancing done like that. It was always just the competition style of ballroom dancing in the context of competition. Yeah, it was like suddenly it was on stage, in a massive sort of auditorium, and they're wearing different things. He wasn't always wearing Cuban heels. Do you know what I mean? It's like he's wearing boots and he's still dancing. Oh my God, how is that even possible?
And like the girls had their hair loose and not fully slicked back, and it was awesome. Yeah.
And I loved it. And then there'd been a couple of times where sort of Jason had got in touch with me and said, I'd love to work with you on Burn the Floor. And there was a time when he knew that I was sort of thinking of maybe stepping away from the competition scene. I was in an RN, and Jason had a meeting with it. And there was a point where I was sat with Jason and Peter in Blackpool, I was watching the Blackpool competition that year, and they were showing me videos of what they were doing, and it was like the sort of Robin Windsor, Jess Raffer, that crew, you know.
Yeah.
And these are some of the numbers that we've been working on. There was like Weatherstorm and Narcisse from Burn the Floor, and I thought it looked really cool. And they gave me like a few days, and they're like, you know, we'd love to have you over there. And I remember I said yes, and then a few days later I went back on the decision and said no, because one of my coaches convinced me to stay in the competition world.
Oh,
so I had to tell him no. And then later, like at the end of the year, I just got into a zone of, what am I doing? I'm just staying in the competition world because it's what I know, and now's the time I need to push myself out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
And I called them and ended up joining in January 2008 and flew out to Australia on New Year's Day.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
And is that where you started in Australia?
Yeah, January 1st, 2008 was when I flew out to Australia, and we did about 2-3 weeks of rehearsals in Perth. And I just remember, I mean, you probably had the same feeling when you first joined. Like you walk into the room with them when they're all going flat out.
Oh yeah,
and you're just going,
I remember I felt that big. I mean, me and Robbie are that big anyway.
Yeah,
physically, but I walked in and the energy, there was this kind of like very awesome cohesiveness from everyone. You know, they like it was such a team effort, and I had never really seen. I mean, I did So You Think You Can Dance, and before that, I had done no theater work, no comps, no nothing. So I had never been in a room and felt this kind of team, all of us are coming together to attack feeling from the group. And I can imagine maybe for you coming from the comp world, seeing competitive Latin dancers actually dancing together must have been quite cool.
Yeah, it was just, I remember just, what number was it? Narcisse. When I walked in, and I wasn't going to be in that number yet, and I was just watching them rehearse it, and even competitors that, like, say in the context of the competition world, say I used to beat, if you're talking about people like Patrick Helm and Chana Burgess and these people that were sort of already there and Burn the Floor. And I would normally beat them in the competition world. And then I watched them in this room, and they were like different animals. Like, I was like,
totally
these are not the same people I remember from the competition world. These are not the same
Is it just in movement and everything? Or just the way like they looked and stuff?
The movement, the way they were moving, and the way they were just dominating the room, and like this sass, this attitude that was coming out of them. I was so blown away, and I got quite emotional. And I spoke to Jason afterwards, and I was like, okay, whatever's gone on here, teach me that.
I want to do that.
I was like, this is where I belong. I was like, this is where I belong. So
was that your first feeling of like, okay, I think I found my calling a little bit now. I know where I'm going to be.
It was like, right, at this point, I've finally decided what I want to do with my life. It's to be a dancer.
Which is what you've always been doing.
Yeah, I just needed to come to that decision on my own, though, rather than just do it because that was the path. And then that was that. Then, you know, I just sort of fell in love with.
And then you did, because I joined Burn the Floor later. I joined Burn the Floor in 2010. But no, it was early 2000 something. I can't remember. I think it's 2009, because we must have met 2000. No, we met 2010, because 2009 I flew over to. This is what I want to ask you about. I flew to Broadway, which you were a part of. You were a part of the first time, well, the only time Burn the Floor has been on Broadway. I mean, that is a massive tick off a bucket list to say that you've been able to perform on Broadway. What was that like?
It was incredible. And the thing was, it was never like, because we were ballroom dancers. So like Broadway isn't the thing you're aiming at.
No, I know. But to get the show there is...
Oh, yeah, totally. But that's what I mean. Because like, if you were to say to us now, like you say a performance that you do on Strictly, you're going to win an Oscar for it. It's like, huh? It's I know. Because you're not even thinking about that. You don't understand that that's even something that's within reach. So when they started talking about Broadway with Burn the Floor, when they first started talking about it, we were on tour. We were in Reno, and we were dancing in a casino in Reno, Nevada. We were there for about 6 months, just like like a residency.
I've heard stories about Reno.
And like sometimes it'd be great, like, but sometimes there'd literally be about 11 people in there in the audience, and it was like,
I don't think people realize how tough that is for a performer when you have to give it, especially a show like Burn the Floor that's so full out, to give it so much and give it everything, your heart and your soul, and then look out and just see that there's 11 people in the audience. That's so tough. It's so
difficult. And also they're not always there really to see you. It's not like they've come to Reno to watch Burn the Floor. They've come to Reno to gamble in the casino.
And then
it just so happens that they've got like a weekend deal where they get their hotel, some gambling money, a free buffet meal, and a show. And you're just the show that comes with it.
Yeah.
So they start. Sometimes we're dancing in front of 11 people, and we're trying to get the word out by like doing some promo stuff. And like we danced in the baggage claim at the airport with full lighting. And, do you know what I mean? Like just the horrible bright strip lighting of the baggage claim,
and this like rock and roll rebellious.
Yeah, and we're all in our outfits with like the boombox, just like playing our music, trying to dance, to try and go, look, we're here, come and see us while you're here. And it just felt like, oh my God, where are we going? But we always believed in the show and the work. And then they started talking about Broadway, and we were like, how are we going to go to Broadway? But some producer had come and he'd seen the show, said, I think we can do it. And they were talking about putting us in a theater in San Francisco. And they were like, if it works in this theater, the Post Theater in San Francisco, I think it was called the Post Theater. So that's like a springboard theater to Broadway. So if it works in San Fran, then we might be able to get enough investors on board to get it to Broadway. And there was a night in San Fran when we were just working so hard. And then there was a night where they sat us down after the show, and honest to God, we all thought we were going to be told that we're getting cancelled. Like it was one of them, like we need to.
Yeah. You're like, oh, it's coming. This is the end, guys. Get ready.
And we're all exhausted, and we sat down, sort of, after the show, still full of sweat and whatever. And they went, "It's happening. We're going to Broadway." And we all just like didn't know what to do, and like I remember Peter Murgatroyd turning around and catching my eye and going like this, and I was like, I know.
How amazing!
Yeah.
Who did you dance with on Broadway?
Giselle Peacock.
Giselle. Oh God, Giselle Peacock, that firecracker. She is the original and forever pocket rocket.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. It's so funny.
She's smaller than me.
Yeah. So fast and crazy when she dances, like so much energy. But it's funny. I was watching a clip of it a few weeks ago. We were talking about Burn the Floor, and Stacey was watching some clips of me dancing with Giselle. Because there's one interview in particular which she finds really funny, of me and Giselle being interviewed. And then it went on to the next bit, and it was like me and Giselle dancing in Burn the Floor around Broadway time. And it was the beginning of Magdalena, which was a really fast, like, beginning
it's like really fast samba.
Yeah. And she watched it, and she went, and Stacey was going, "That's you." And I had longer hair and all of this. She was like, "That's you, and that's you dancing." I was like, "Yeah, that's me." And then we were having a conversation talking about, dancing and where I'm at now, and whatever, because I'm 37 now, and whatever. And I was talking about my dancing now and how it's changed, and Stacey went, "I mean, look, it's undeniable that you're slower now."
We love Stacey for that.
Because I'd just be watching me and Giselle.
I love it, because she's very like kind and funny and compassionate and empathetic, and then she'll always drop the one line. But I'm sure it was followed by something really nice.
I'm not sure it was, to be honest.
That was it. Brutal, Stacey. But I mean, Kevin, we are. I mean, I'm 37 this year as well. And you kind of, your body, when you were what, in your 20s when you were there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, of course your body changes, but after you did Burn the Floor and you did Broadway, you came to the West End with the show the second time around. Because the first time the show was in the West End, you weren't with us, because that's when I joined.
No, I was doing Dirty Dancing down the road.
So this is my next section of Kevin's life. I remember them all talking to me, oh, Kevin Clifton, you've got to see him. He's the most amazing dancer. He's just, you know, and I was like, oh, okay, cool, fine. So we go to watch you in Dirty Dancing.
No, the Aldwych Theatre.
Yeah, we go to watch you, and I'm like, all right, well then let's see what this Kevin's about. And I think because the role that you played was like, it was Charlie Bruce's boyfriend or something. I can't remember the character.
Yeah, me and Charlie Bruce were dancing together. Yeah.
Yeah.
She just won So You Think, and it was like part of her prize to be in the show or something. Yeah.
You came out with her, and you had like very small little moments that you pop out, and I'm waiting for this world champion dancer that's been on Burn the Floor that everyone raves about, that was on Broadway. And I was like, okay, fine. And then the bows came.
This is my moment.
And Kevin, you know, everybody's doing this. Everybody's giving it a bit of just like, thank you. You came out and you gave them like as many possible steps as you could fit into an 8-count bow you put in. And that's when I went, oh! What made you
do in this show, but god damn it, you will remember me.
Honestly, it felt like that. I was like, God, and I was like, he's being underused. And so you did Dirty Dancing. Did you do it? Was it a sit-down show or was it a UK tour?
No, it was just sat down West End.
Sat-down show. And was that your first proper? I mean, obviously, to say that it's strange when you were on Broadway, but was that your first proper musical?
Yeah,
that you ever did?
Yeah.
And how did you find it? Because it's very different from what you were used to in Burn the Floor.
Oh, I really loved it. Oh, I really loved it because I love musical theatre. I love all theatre. I love singing and acting as much as I do dancing. And it's always been something that I'd wanted to do at some point. And yeah, I really enjoyed the whole experience of it. Actually, I did find that what I found interesting was that, like, in my head, like, you think of like, oh, it's a West End musical. All these people, it's like, I don't know if everyone does this, but I've got a tendency to, when I walk into a new situation, I've got a tendency to put everyone who's there like on this pedestal. I'm like, oh, they must be these sort of thespians that are genius actors.
They walk around with the skull in their hand.
Yeah. And I've just got to prove my worth to be here, you know, like around them. And then when it comes to sort of like rehearsals and stuff like that, I just come from Burn the Floor. And in terms of work ethic in Burn the Floor, like, you know, like we would rehearse all day, do just over 2-hour show of flat out dancing, and then we'd go back to rehearsals afterwards sometimes, and no one questioned it. It was just what we did. And then it'd be like, right, we need to take that number out the show. We're doing something different tomorrow. We need to rehearse this all day. Someone's out, someone's injured, so we need to, and just rehearse. And I found that when I came out of Burn the Floor into other stuff, it's like, it's weird how, and I'm sure they're all set up for good reason, but the sort of union way of thinking of like, well, equity rules state that we don't have to come in until, you know, I know you want us in at 5, but equity rules that say we don't have to be until 5:30 because of this. And I was like, we get to come in at 5? Jeez, I was expecting to be in at 9 in the morning. Like,
I know, it's a very different world though, and I think those union rules exist for a very good reason. I think Burn the Floor was so new, so different, so unique in what it is and what it represents, that's why there were kind of no rules. You know, they were figuring it out with Jason and Peter and with the dancers as we kind of went, you know, what came next, you know.
And on Broadway especially, because the union rules are so heavy over there, like on Broadway, it's like if you're using musicians, they'll go for like 20 minutes and then they need a 10-minute break. And even like you can't rehearse past this time in the theatre or whatever. So we just went down the road and found a studio and went and rehearsed in there.
So what does Burn the Floor do? We'll do it anyway.
Yeah.
But like you said, no one questioned it. Every single dancer wanted to rehearse, wanted to put in the time, wanted to get like the next step as perfect as possible.
But I wonder how specific it is to dancing, because it's the same on Strictly. Like we turn up at whatever time in the morning and rehearse all day.
True. We don't really have hours on Strictly.
No, there's no like, well, you know, the rules say we only have to do this many hours. Da 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 da. Well, from a dancer's perspective, we just dance all day. Yeah,
you're right. But I think it's mostly because dancers are just, unfortunately, I think they're kind of the bottom of the barrel when it comes to things like that. You've got singers and actors and musicians, and then the dancers kind of come into play. So I feel like in our hearts, us as dancers, we're always trying to be the best possible version of ourselves that we can be. So we kind of give ourselves this constant push that, no, we can do more. My leg's hurting, but I'm going to go anyway. I'm exhausted, not slept, but I'm going to fix that double pirouette anyway. Like, you come in for it, you know? But anyway, so that was your first kind of step into the musical theater world. But little did you know that it was going to become such a huge part of your life afterwards. Or did you kind of get a hint there that this was something that you wanted to do in the long run?
Yeah, I always thought I would do more at some point. Like at that point, I was probably thinking this might be my career now, you know, like doing musicals. I really enjoy it. But then I ended up going back to Burn the Floor again. And
we went to the West End and then you came back.
Yeah, and it all became about dancing again. And then Strictly sort of came into play. So
so Strictly, now we're going to talk about it. I remember myself, yourself, and Ali Ash went for the auditions on the same year, and we were kind of like around each other on the same day. And I know you openly talk about it, so I can't say it, but there's two things happening. One, I felt so guilty that they actually took me for the job, because I felt like, you know how you just said when you walk into a musical theater rehearsal room, you feel like they're all thespians and they're all like, I felt like, how am I so lucky, or so kind of in the right place at the right time, not being a competitive ballroom and Latin dancer, and I've got this opportunity to be in the biggest telly show in the UK. I mean, it was the biggest dream come true in the universe for me. And then to get it with Alias was like double icing on the cake. And then here you are, world champion, done musical theater, Broadway, and they didn't take you straight away. I remember going, I was so happy for myself, but then at the same time felt so, I don't know, almost guilty that you didn't get it. You know what I mean? I was like, Kevin, I got it.
It was such an awkward day for everyone, wasn't it?
Yeah.
When we stepped into the theatre, like the Shaftesbury Theatre, and I was like, and genuinely, I was like so happy for you guys. I remember speaking to my mum and dad and being like, Ali and Janette got it. Ali and Janette got it. And but I was so like, oh my God.
It was so awkward because we came into rehearsals, we were still doing Burn the Floor at the time, and we came into rehearsals and we couldn't really be happy because we felt so gutted for you. And but then the things changed. Yeah,
well, they told me was that because there was 14 celebrities usually, but they told me that it might go to 15 that year. So an extra place might open up, and it depends on whether it's a male or female celebrity. It depends on lots of different things. Like, we're keeping you in mind. But
which in one way wasn't a no. And I remember me and Ali saying to you, it's not a no.
It might happen. Yeah. But it was weird because at that point, like on that day, like I say, I was so happy for you guys getting it, and you know, and some of the cast were already on the show, but I sort of, on that day, like, it's, I don't know, it's like my confidence took a massive hit. And I remember talking to Peter Roby and just going, I don't know whether it's just like, you know, don't see it like that. Or it's just, you know, they're looking for certain people.
Well, I think what happens, which is a normal feeling I think for me especially, and I think for most artists or anybody that has to ever go through an audition process, it's that moment of going, why not? Like, why not me? You don't want to say that. You want to go, okay, well, it wasn't for me. I'll be a positive and think about it. But you can't help but immediately go,
Yeah.
well, why not me? What was wrong with me? Why shouldn't I have been a part of that? What did I do wrong? Or what's, you know, because immediately, you know, something about you is not something they want. And that's that negativity that starts taking over your mind versus so many other positives that could be happening. But it's just that 1 inch of doubt that kicks in and really can put you in a bad place mentally, I think.
And I started thinking as well, like maybe I just sort of should look more towards musical theatre again and not concentrate so much on dancing. And I actually was in contact with someone about auditioning for Rock of Ages at the time.
No way!
Yeah, it's funny how things come around. But so I was talking about that, but then they'd said they'd keep me in mind, but it didn't feel like it was going to be a possibility. But then I thought, I think Jace said to me, we need someone to film the trailer. There's the trailer that year, which was like everyone was dancing with an invisible partner, and that invisible partner was me in like a morph suit. To be rubbed out. So I came in for the day. I was in this green morph suit, head to toe, dancing with like Christina Rianoff and whoever else, Ola Jordan or whoever, doing bits and bobs, like lifting them up and spinning them around and doing it so they could rub me out. So I was just around and like, do you want that job? I was like, yeah, I might as well just try and keep my face in there. Like, you know,
yeah,
just,
okay, cool.
yeah. So I did that. And then, so I was around them at the time. And then I think it was like a day or two after that, suddenly I got a phone call just saying, we're going to have 15 couples this year and extra places opened up. Do you want to be part of the show?
Oh, little did they
like,
know, Kevin.
Okay.
And then you didn't just join the show, you slaughtered the show. I think we got that. Did you feel like you got back that essence of competitiveness again that came back in a bit?
Not in a sense of like from the competition world, as in competing against other people, but I suppose because I'd been rejected, I've been told no twice before finally getting a yes to be on the show. I suppose there was something about me that felt I really had to prove myself to justify getting on there, because, you know, there was a sense that they weren't, if I've been told no twice, there was a sense that they weren't sure about me. And so I've heard from like a couple of other people, like it was sort of 50-50, that like some of them weren't sure whether to take me on the show and a couple of them thought that I'd be right. And I think Jason vouched for me and said, you know, he will work hard, and they were worried about me going back to being a bit gothy and all of that and all of that
then
stuff.
You cleaned yourself up, you cut your hair, you shaved.
Okay, like, no, I won't be a goth, I promise, I won't.
Oh God, Kevin, I can't believe, just because, gosh, we've been talking for so long. I can't believe that you're not coming back this year. I'm going to miss you so much.
No, I'm going to miss you guys.
Especially kind of like those Fridays and Saturdays when we just meet up again and we sit down. I remember me and you used to always just sit down and be like, how's things?
Put the words right, yeah.
Yeah, but you've got such an incredible already musical theater career. You've got Rock of Ages that you did as Stacey Jacks, which I know you were awesome. I didn't get to see you, but I know and I've heard everyone that watched you said to me, I've never seen Kevin like that. And then Wedding Planner, and now, I mean, Strictly Ballroom. What's going to happen with Strictly Ballroom? Is it still going forward at another point next year?
Yeah, so I've heard they have decided, rather than stress, because we're due to open in September.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of theatres hoping to be open from about September. I know that's the latest with West End. They're looking at September at the moment, but everything's changing all the time. So I think what they've decided to do is, rather than stress about it and worry about, you know, is it going to happen? Are we going to work towards September and then have to start putting it back a bit because we don't know what's going to happen? They've decided to just start it a year later.
Yeah.
So we're going to open in September 21, I think. That's the latest that I heard.
Safe. I think that's a safe route. Aliash and I mean, we were meant to be on tour right now, but we did exactly the same. We're like, you know what? Let's just literally pick it up and put it in the next year. Well, I can't wait to watch you. I mean, I know how much you're obsessed with Strictly Ballroom. How much that movie has meant to you through the years. I think one of the first times, actually 10 years ago, one of the first times we hung out was watching Strictly Ballroom, because I'd never seen it, and you were like, what?
What do you mean you haven't
watch this film, Janette?
Right, everybody stop what you're doing. I've got the DVD here. We're sticking this on.
And I remember the first time I watched it was with you, because you're like, I can't believe you've never seen this movie. It was like, mind blowing. It was
I'm upset.
Well, Kevin, I'll let you go. Enjoy the rest of your night. But I love you so much. I'm gonna miss you so much on the show.
Yeah, and good luck. I hope it goes well. This year.
You just tell all the people that voted for you. You just send them my way, okay?
I'll mobilize Grimsby.
and give Stacey my love. You know,
and how's Ali? Is he all right?
Yeah, she's doing great with the documentary. I saw the one that came out of the Narcos recently.
Oh yeah. The Narcos one comes out on Sunday.
Yeah.
Tomorrow. The prison one came out last week.
Yeah, she's doing. That's amazing that they're still releasing her stuff even during this time. It's so good.
Yeah, she's filming a doc right now, just about coronavirus and stuff, sort of unsung heroes and stuff. So she's she's busy doing all that right now.
Well, you go back to enjoying your home cooked food.
Yeah.
And let's do this.
Who does the cooking with you two?
Say again?
Who does the cooking with you two?
I do.
You do. Does Ali?
But I'm like Stacey. I think me and Stacey have talked about this. I'm not that kind of the exact perfect home kind of wife. I'm really good at tidying up. I like cleaning and keeping the house tidy. Yeah. But when it comes to cooking and baking and all that, I'm really not fancy. So I'm just starting now to kind of, I'm looking at the cheesecake panicking, because I think I'm supposed to take it out now. So I'm trying to do different things around the house and cook for us and get better at it, because eventually I should know how to cook.
Yeah, no, I should really.
He can cook, but he's not into it either. Yeah, so I'm doing it.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, Kevis. I love you so much.
Love you, Janice.
It
and
was
some
so
love
nice
to Ali.
talk with you.
And you.
Mwah. Guys, thanks for watching. Bye, Kevis. Bye.
See ya.